Welcome to the 9-8 Central podcast, where we talk about growing a business, working in media, and building a team we love. I'm Jen Blair, COO here at 9-8 Central, joined with Kyle Jewell, our social strategist. Hey, Kyle.
Hey, Jen. How's it going?
Good. How about you?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk about what we're going to talk about today.
Yes. And so today we are going to just talk about Instagram. So earlier this week, we have a weekly social inspiration meeting where we have some of our team get together and we pull some links of different social content that we've seen and just kind of talk about it and see how we can get inspired by it or see what we can adapt for our clients. And we kind of went off into this tangent about Instagram and how much it's been changing and just all the crazy things going on in there, and said, you know what, we really need to do a podcast about that. So here we are.
That's good. This is actually the second version of the podcast because we did the first version in that meeting.
Yes,
so
we did. That's like
version.
Every podcast we do together. We have already done it. Really wish you would have been there for the first one. They're usually great, but we have detailed notes this time. We're going to stay on track and we're going to make it happen.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So, okay, Instagram. My favorite social media platform. I've always loved it. I don't know why. It just has this nice
You are very protective of Instagram, more so than other platforms.
Yeah.
That's your little baby.
It is. But I also feel like, so many different reasons, and any strategy can kind of spiral out from Instagram because it's so robust and there's so many things that you can do with it and then take that idea and run it somewhere else. I think it just really breeds creativity in so many different ways. And that's probably why. Yeah. But so Instagram, we know it today, very video heavy. You got stories, you got reels, you've got IGTV sort of.
Longer video.
Longer videos. Yeah. But back in the day, Instagram just used to be a photo sharing platform. You could just kind of we talked about this before, take a picture of your lunch, take a picture of your azalea bush, kind of go out and do whatever you want, whatever was on your mind, just take a picture and there you go.
Horrific filters, the whole 9 yards.
A diary of your day, that kind of thing. But then as digital marketing grew, as social marketing grew, I think as blogging as a platform grew, it just kind of took off as, something that could really be used to tell a story, not just your personal story, but your business story. And, influencing kind of grew out of that. Yeah.
The digital scrapbooking, where you can actually add your notes to photos. So,
right.
So I thought that was, and we talked about how important blogging and influencer, well, I guess it was before they were dubbed influencers, but how bloggers kind of flocked to the platform.
Yeah.
That was, I don't want to say before my time, but that was before I started getting into the platform and using it. So can you tell me the progression of that?
Yeah. So I feel like 2008, 2009, 2010 were probably the years when people really started to use blogging as a way of just kind of telling their story, talking about their day, showing off their outfits. I think it was just very much a female-oriented space. And so when Instagram kind of came on the scene, people who were already sharing their outfits and sharing, the work they were doing on their home and decorating, all that sort of stuff, Instagram was just such an easy segue from long drawn-out blog posts to something that's more here's a moment of my day, and go to my blog to see this really long explanation of it.
Yeah.
And so I think that was one of the things that then really led to Instagram being a business tool.
Yeah.
Because brands are hey, we can tell our story here too. Hey, we can hire these people to help tell our story. We can send them things and they've got audiences. And so it really started to build up from that.
Yeah.
And I think Instagram really liked having all of these eyes on it. Obviously they're making money. They can get ads. They have so many users. And so as more and more competition came on the scene from other platforms, be it Twitter or be it LinkedIn, be it whatever it is, Snapchat is another one. They've kind of had this track record of squashing the competition.
Yeah. Yeah. Squashing, trying to take the best pieces and
straight up.
Just molding it into there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of those pieces. So, well, maybe we should talk about how, so it was just a photo. You could, on Instagram, you could just share a photo. And then, what was next? Carousels, right? Yep. So you could share multiple photos at once. And then very quickly after that, everything else happened.
Yeah,
so
video,
then you had video functionality to feed, and then you had IGTV, stories usage, and then most recently Reels. And all of those additions were kind of, we're not going to use the word stolen, borrowed from other platforms as they were like the marquee feature of these other platforms. So like video was doing really well on Facebook back then. Obviously, stories borrowed from Snapchat.
I remember it was 2016 because I remember the year it came out, the summer it came out. I was living in Germany at the time, and all of a sudden, like I was starting to get into Snapchat, and I was like, okay, so I understand why people are liking this. And then Instagram came out with stories, and it was like, well, I just completely abandoned Snapchat. Didn't even care.
Well, and then remember about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, 2021, 2020. The stories boom where like every network did stories. LinkedIn tried stories.
Oh my God.
Twitter tried stories, and they all kind of fizzled out. So for Instagram to, again, borrow that feature and then make it stick.
Maintain it.
Yeah. And well, then also grow it. They kind of grew too. That was like a main, like statistic of usage was like 80% of people who have an account use stories or scroll through stories.
Instead of their feed. And then, of course, I think you mentioned it very briefly, but Reels then is probably the most recent thing, which is now the direct ripoff of TikTok. So that kind of leads us in, like, why did that happen? So TikTok came on the scene 2016, 2017, but didn't really blow up probably until 2020. And so Instagram does what Instagram does, and they're like, hey, we're going to take this feature and apply it here. And so I guess the question is like, do they need to keep doing that? Do we feel like that's a viable strategy? Do clients need to be doing it? Should they be dabbling in that space?
Yeah. Well, it's, so they took this, it's really this concept from TikTok, full screen video, very immersive, like storytelling. And we're kind of seeing now how that's kind of evolving into not only full screen video, but full screen content. They've been kind of hinting at doing a full screen experience for the last couple of months.
I think they've been testing.
I think I've seen a few beta tests. I will withhold my opinion on how I feel about how it looks.
I'll talk about it. But I mean, I think, it's been almost a decade, just about a decade, a little over a decade that we've been using Instagram and building strategies and making content based off of, squares or, slightly vertical video. And so how would Instagram keep adapting to make sure that the content still looks the same? It's not just always about what's posted immediately. Like old content still has value. So what's that going to do?
And that's, we'll talk about TikTok in a different episode, but that's where the strategy now is going to make the most significant shift. Instagram's kind of about the cohesive. You have your, like you just said, in your feed, like on your grid outlook. You have your graphics there. Your Reels thumbnails go there. Video thumbnails go there. You have your stories, places where you can post like a certain sized temporary piece of content. So you have all these different pieces that you have to juggle. If everything moves to full screen experience, what gets left out? Graphics probably won't be optimized. I guess if you make them 9:16, it'll be optimized, but will the algorithm even reward graphics, or will it just reward video posts?
And that's the thing that I love about Instagram right now is like, we are a company, we're a video production company, we're video first, we're always going to love it. But the thing about Instagram is that there's still ways to be discovered with other content. Graphics are still valuable. Pictures can still be valuable too. And as much as we love video, it's not the end all be all.
So other things about Instagram that brands can continue to leverage to help grow their profile, sell their products and services. Usability of Instagram as a platform, I think it's pretty simple. They've really simplified. Like there's you could swipe left now to post story, Reels, anything to your feed.
I didn't know that actually.
Super simple. Oh,
I always go and
I get to tell you a fun trick for once.
I kind of want to like open it right now and like, hold on. We're going to do this. So you just you swipe left. Wait. Oh no, that took me to my messages.
Your other
left.
Maybe right. Never mind. Left to right.
There we go. Yeah. Okay. Great. All right. Yeah. It takes you to stories. Okay. That's cool. Now I know. The more you know. I need a graphic there. That little
good experimentation.
Yes.
Great radio too. Well, that's so easy to use. I think so. There's still value in it for brands. Searchability is still there. Obviously, the usability that we just talked about. let's talk about hashtags.
Yeah.
Does that matter?
Yeah, I think so. I always have had a pretty specific strategy on when to use them, or how to use them, I guess, and how many you should use and what volume, and like what categories and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think that they're still super valuable. I think that as long as you are making sure that they fit in with your niche, they fit in with the content. So not just your niche, but the content of the piece that you're posting, anything locally driven. And if you're being very mindful of the volume behind that and being strategic with the volume behind it, I think that's valuable. And you can still get in front of those audiences. And that being said, Instagram has been doing a lot of work on searchability and SEO on that side. And so the more that you can continue to beat that drum, like these are the things that I talk about, these are the things that I'm about, then it's going to help you get into people's, is it their Explore feed on Instagram? Is that they're calling it? I keep getting like TikTok and Instagram terminology mixed up.
Yeah, sometimes they fold anything that would appear on feed. Like they're doing posts that from pages you don't follow now are appearing more often in their feed. So it's kind of, they're blending the Explore page and the home feed, I guess.
Yeah. And as long as you can see, we see this on TikTok, like the second that you look for a topic, you get hammered with that topic. You see it over and over again. And so I think Instagram is starting to pick up on that a little bit, maybe more subtly than you see with TikTok. But the more that you can send those signals that like, hey, this is the thing I talk about, and hashtags is one way to do that, then the more likely you are to up your discovery. And think about it. If you go into Instagram and you look at your individual post insights, it will tell you where your discovery is from. Was it your home feed? Was it from Explore? Was it from hashtags? And if you're strategically choosing your hashtags, then you can absolutely get tons of eyes and impressions. Yeah,
you, depending on like the size of your page, if you have less than maybe 1,000 or 2,000 followers on your page, you want the impressions from hashtags to be higher than from your from Discover or from your home feed. Another helpful trick for hashtags too, and we've done this, and it's about time that we actually refreshed it. But we have a running spreadsheet where we have hashtags organized by type, so by audience, so very specific audience messaging. And then they're also organized further by message volume. And so recommendation for brands and social managers, create that spreadsheet and then update it every month.
Or at least every quarter. Right. Every month could be tedious.
That could be hard, but update it frequently or regularly. And take note of where that number changes the most in terms of volume. So obviously that means there's a lot more conversations happening in there. Then keep an eye out for any new tags too that pop up that you that are relevant for your brand that you could.
But not only that, as you're doing that research, dig into that hashtag and
see why.
What was the last? When was the last thing posted too? Because if it's not active, then you probably don't necessarily want to be spending too much time there. But generally, I always try to say the sweet spot is between 20,000 and 80,000 in volume. You can go more, you can go less, but I think that that's like kind of a nice mid volume target. So,
that makes sense. Cool. What else can we tell people about it?
So I guess, do we want to talk about like how you can still be successful on Instagram today? I think that there's a lot of, we've seen this conversation over and over again with so many different things. Is SEO dead? Is Twitter dead? Is Facebook dead? Is Instagram dead now? And I absolutely don't think it is. Especially as long as millennials are like online and, consumers and telling stories and still like kind of really loving the ways that they came up online. I think that there's a way to be successful on Instagram. So a couple of those things. It does require a much more thoughtful strategy. Like you said earlier, there's so many different ways that you can use it, between graphics, between carousels, between video, between reels, between stories. You generally have 5 strategies now that you're looking at. And everything has to work cohesively. You still have that feed experience and you still have an aesthetic pool. You still want, if somebody comes to your profile, they can click on it and understand exactly what it is that you are. And then how does all of that content from all those different pieces laddering up to that big overall message. And so you have that opportunity to be really strategic and hit people from a bunch of different angles too. We talked about captions on posts. Talk about that a little bit. So Instagram has been, to credit to Instagram, they're always kind of updating their users, especially their business profile users, on what works best.
And lately, the past like 4 or 5 months or so, they've been really pushing longer captions. Similar to hashtags, there's a lot of value in searchability for having longer captions. And specifically, it's something that we're trying to do a good job of with our clients. Pick those 3 words or phrases that you want your brand to be associated with. Make sure that they're in every caption. I wanted to say that maybe you need to over-explain what you're sharing in your caption just to add more search value. But think of it like almost like a YouTube description, right? You want it to be keyword rich, information dense. You want to give people a reason to keep coming back to your page to learn more about you or your product, your service, whatever your expertise is.
And Instagram has always done a great job at allowing you to tell your story. And so you can tell your story in a creative way. You can still, not keyword stuff, but you can still get your relevant keywords in there. You can still get your messaging. You can still beat your drum and tell that story. And taking the opportunity to have that longer caption, it only does good things.
Yes, it's well worth the effort. If you were just cross-posting from whatever you're posting on Facebook to Instagram.
Please don't. Please stop.
It's not optimized, so your performance is not going to be great.
Let's see. We did talk about diversity of content. The video is not the only way. Ultimately, and I think that this can go to say for anything, like you have to think about the message behind it. What are you teaching? What are you showing? If you're more of the influencer bent, like what sort of aspirational message are you trying to put across? And no matter what, like the core of the message is the same. You can still, I think one of the things that's frustrating to me about something like TikTok is that it is so high effort to post something. Instagram, you can make a graphic or you can take a picture and you can still make it mean something. You can do it in moments. And as long as you just remember, like, what's the message? What am I here for? What is the core of this? Then you can still get out great content in moments. I miss those days.
One final thing that I'll add for why people should stay on Instagram. It's kind of where we started this episode on. Instagram evolves with the times. It has a very good sense of what its users want. You want stories, you get stories. You want a full screen experience, you get a full screen experience.
You can really build your own journey. You can pay attention to the features that you really like.
And the features that works for your audience too. So if they're, maybe you are trying to steal, again, that word, steal. Maybe you're trying to steal followers, though, from a competitor's TikTok page. Maybe you go super heavy on your reel strategy, try to give a similar experience while showing why your product or service is different.
The thing that I think makes Instagram particularly future-proof, I don't know if that's like the right word for this, but they have great leadership, right? So if you're in social media marketing, you need to follow Adam Mosseri. I think his handle is just @Mosseri, Mosseri. So he is the leadership of Instagram. He's the guy behind pretty much everything that happens there. He does great Ask Me Anything type things. I was actually going to put in his AMA when are you going to do reels for like third-party publishing, like auto publishing. Now I don't have to. They're making it happen. Hooray. Thank you. Thank you, Adam Mosseri. I know you're listening. But he's just one of the best ways to understand kind of like the mindset behind the moves that they're making and why they're doing it and the intentionality behind the user experience too. Like he was even saying in a recent one about how they felt that the interface was getting too crowded and there was just too much there. So they want to make sure that they're paying attention to the user experience. And I think that is going to go a long way no matter what happens with this platform.
I mean, say what you want. They're very human driven. It's not, I mean, obviously there's the business aspect for them too. Like they want people to spend money on the app, but at least the way that he delivers, it feels very human and all of their moves, like they match up with exactly what he says. So
super user first, right? And isn't that the whole point of like, if you're making good content,
right?
Even the content delivery system. So okay, cool. Well, what are you digging this week?
Oh gosh. What am I digging? I just finished the 5th book of the Dune book series. Oh, like based on the movie.
You're trucking through this.
There's, I think I have one more. Interesting.
Are they hard reads?
The first one's a little bit tricky. The writing style's very interesting. You have to get about like halfway through the book to like really like get up to speed. Basically, it takes place in this like it's a sci-fi. It's a random planet like in the solar system. And then like the local terminology and stuff, there's no explanation. The author just like references this thing, and then you just kind of have to use context to like build your own vision of it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah. What about you? What are you digging?
I can't remember if I talked about this in a previous episode or not, and I've had it for a while. But I'm digging my monitor arm for my computer. So a couple weeks ago, maybe months at this point, I don't remember what time is like, I got a thing that I could like mount my monitor on my desk because I have like neck problems. And so I was always like looking down or whatever. And I finally got my monitor in a place that I can see it and my neck is like in a healthy position. And it's been great. Like I actually feel like my neck has been feeling so much better.
Yeah, very
I tweaked
exciting.
it the other day, but
very
like,
exciting life when that is the highlight.
You know you're old when. But yeah. Anyway, okay. Well, we have talked about Instagram. We've talked about Dune. We've talked about monitor arms. And now it is time to go. Yes. So thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you want to learn more about 98 Central, you can follow us along on social media, obviously on Instagram at 98C. We're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, and you can find us online at 98c.org. So yeah, keep on following, rate and review the show, and tune in next time. Thanks, everyone.
See ya.
Yes.